This is the May 27th edition of Kelly and Company. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday. Transitioning from being a student to an employee and getting that career kicked off, it can be so challenging. And Anupala knows all about this. She's going to tell us how we can set ourselves for success or set you up for success if you're the one going through it. It's going to be a good time and we want to hear all about it. So let's get things started.
This is Kelly and Company.
Without Kelly MacDonald, another one of these weeks, a couple episodes where it's just myself, Ramya Amudan, and Nisreen Abdelmajid. So really, Niz, you're holding down the fort for all the regular watchers, audience members, listeners, because you're the constant. How are you?
I'm good. The duo is back.
The duo is back.
Is it back?
I don't know if we were the original duo. We had to go back to like AMI audiobook review days. That's
when Kelly's not here, I feel like we can say it's the original, but when Kelly's around, we have to be hush hush.
No one's here to protest
on the DL.
any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And Amanda, you know Amanda's going to be on our side. She's a regular contributor on the show, joins us once a month, our music critic. And we're going to talk with you, Amanda, about the American Music Awards for 2025 because it took place last night. That's May 26th. The ceremony was hosted by Jennifer Lopez. It took place in Las Vegas and or in Nevada. So you want to tell us what happened? What were the highlights and was it a good one this year?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it looked like such an amazing show. Billie Eilish took home the most awards this year, winning all 7 of the categories that she was nominated in, including Album of the Year and Artist of the Year. And some other highlights, SZA took home the award for Favorite Female R&B Artist and Favorite R&B Song for Saturn. And another winner was Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, who both received the awards for Favorite Music Video and Collaboration for their song Die With a Smile, which was one of my favorite songs this summer. So well-desered here. And yeah, and iconic album we have.
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, Beyonce. We also have Beyonce getting 2 awards for the favorite female country artist and country album of the year for Cowboy Carter, which to me I think is such a classic album. And performances were Benson Boone. You know he's gonna have a fun show with all the flips and gymnastics that he does. He played his song Mystical Magic, and Jennifer Lopez opened the show starting with her set with verses from her hit with Pitbull, Dance Again. And then we have the icon Janet Jackson, who also got the Icon Award and also did her first televised performance in 7 years. So seems like a packed show, guys.
It definitely seems packed. First, let's go to your reaction is about Bruno Mars. What is it? He didn't deserve it, or
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just that I've seen more artists contribute this year. So that was a bit shocking. I'm not shocked about Billie Eilish taking home most awards. This girl kills it every award show.
Every time.
And she flexes it. And the thing is, like, I don't feel like she tries so hard on award shows. That's just like her personality, where she's just a boss. Yeah, she's so chill, and I love it. Like, she's so chill. She doesn't like flex it so hard, but she does because she looks cool. I'm like one of those dorky kids that look at her and I'm like, she's one of the cool kids.
I want to be you when you grow up.
Yeah, like her content though is amazing. I don't find it surprising to me at all.
Amanda,
I think she's super talented. I agree. I think she's really talented and she really deserves what she's getting because lyrically she really has it. Production wise, I love the duo of her and her brother collaborating on music together, and just watching her grow throughout the years is pretty amazing. And I actually, when now with Dave Brown, when I used to do segments on that, I actually did a review of the album that won this year, Hit Me Hard and Soft.
Oh, okay, nice. So going back to the collaboration award though that Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars picked up, was that for a release this year?
For this summer with Die with a Smile,
Okay,
that
okay,
song.
okay. I can't
Mm,
believe
Well,
we're
summer 2024,
already.
but yeah.
Yeah, because I was gonna say we're already talking about summer hits. When do the summer hits start coming out? Like May, or do artists start
It's
releasing like
end of
what they
May,
want the
beginning
summer?
of June. That's at least how
Okay,
I
yeah.
say I see
yeah,
them.
So now,
Yeah.
basically, guys,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Um,
Yeah,
I also definitely want to highlight Beyonce for taking on the country awards because she brought,
Yeah.
releasing Cowboy Carter, which is so different. I think she talks about how it's part of her roots and her heritage from where she is. But for us musically as fans, it was very different from a lot of the stuff.
yeah.
And I think of late, like after her fifth album, after around Lemonade time, it was just experimental every year. When Renaissance came out, it was experimental. Cowboy Carter came out, it was very experimental, meaning from her original five albums that felt like they were kind of
Yeah.
running themes of her vocals and lyrical content.
I love how you
Yeah.
brought that up, that it was more different for the listeners, because I feel like it took me a bit to really ease into that album
Yeah.
and get used to that theme, that vibe. So
As a
it took a
Beyonce
bit.
album.
It's
Hmm.
as a Beyonce album, because you're just used to a different sound. But when you
Yeah.
get into this album, yeah, it is very different for the listeners to kind of get used
Yeah.
to. But her fans still like stand with her, obviously. So it wasn't like one of those albums that fans are like, okay, I'm not used to this, I don't like
No,
it, or don't
never.
do it. um
Because if they were gonna do that, they would have
because
done that about Renaissance and potentially about
yeah,
Lemonade as well when it started
yeah,
getting high.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Amanda, with these award shows, I always want to ask this question when we highlight award shows. Do you find it relevant today? Do you find the any of the music award shows relevant? I know that there's the aspect of awards being given out, accolades, that stuff, as well as
What I think these award shows are relevant because they do highlight some, the big names like Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and SZA, but then we also get to see emerging artists get a chance to get to be exposed in that way. Like, artists like Benson Boone or Alex Warren getting a chance to
Hmm.
perform, which I love that, these award shows are like shifting, that it's not just the big names, but also, spending time on the upcoming artists, which I think is really great.
Because honestly, it becomes so repetitive when you see these big name artists, and it's not shocking news. Okay, Taylor Swift won this award, Billie Eilish won this award, even though I love her. No hate on her. But at the same time, it really is nice. I agree with you, to see the smaller, I wouldn't say smaller, but the ones that are not in the spotlight as often, to finally come out and show themselves, and to really showcase themselves. So that's nice. Because in every award show, Amanda, I feel like every award show is pretty similar when it comes to who won what, how many awards go to what. It's always the same named artists. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Like, it just feels like you're kind of watching the same thing, but I think now they're trying to really change it up with, like, variety of the people that we see.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
this year's American
Um,
Music Awards was definitely a success.
yeah. How about Jennifer Lopez opening the show? How was that?
I feel like that's really iconic. She it's amazing because apparently she did a lot of dancing, and that was like a big part of her performance. And I love that she started with Dance Again because that's such a throwback and a good way to open
Yeah.
the set. And yeah, I feel like she's just such an icon in the best way.
Okay, so she was dancing and singing at the same time, obviously, right? And this
Yes.
woman is how old again? Can we just
I saw that she's like in her
It's like
50s,
in
which
her,
is so
I think in
impressive.
her late 50s, okay? Me as a
Yeah.
28-year-old, when I do karaoke, I cannot do choreography with karaoke. So just imagining this girl do a full set with dancing and her powerful voice is just shocking. It's absolutely crazy. And it makes me feel like I'm out
Hmm.
of, I'm not fit at all. But this is great. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight?
I think really cool for SZA getting those 2 awards too, because I think in the R&B music scene, she is definitely becoming a big name, and I love seeing her getting recognized.
Mm, yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was music critic Amanda Shekarchi, and she had the recap about the American Music Awards 2025 that took place last night, May 26. Anu Paula is an accessibility professional with over 2 decades of experience working with community-driven organizations. Her key areas of work has been in digital accessibility, career development, and training and consulting. Today, Anu is here to discuss the transition of persons with disabilities from post-secondary to the workforce. Anu, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
So, why is it important to you to talk about the topic of transitioning from post-secondary to employment?
Well, this is just an area that we often don't talk about because I feel like students with disabilities are very well supported when they're going through school and especially post-secondary, and then they have a lot of supports when they get into the workplace. But there's this tender kind of area, between uh, the time they end post-secondary and they're seeking employment. And I feel that many people often fall through the cracks. And so I think it's really important to raise awareness about the importance of the challenges, that students, I guess we call them students, because they're technically not employees yet, that they face, when they're transitioning into the workplace.
Yeah, and this is on theme, Anu, with a conversation we were having about Robert Half research being done around new hires. And by new hires, not just people, at any given point in their career, but at the start of their career. What are the specific challenges that people are facing when you're going from being a student to an employee? And when we focus in on the angle of people with disabilities, what would you say those are? What are those top challenges? What are some of the things that we're either overlooking or that a lot of people are facing that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are many challenges. I think it really depends on, where each individual is at, because we know that everyone is at a different place in their disability journey. And so I think some of the key areas might be around accommodations, for example, in terms of what those workplace accommodations might look like. Because a lot of employers are very open to, and they have a lot of knowledge about what workplace accommodations look like. And then there are some in certain industries possibly who may not have a clue. And so for someone to be fresh out of school and, sort of exploring those options, first they may not know what their options are, and then to be able to advocate for themselves, that can become a challenge. We know that a lot of people with disabilities, invisible disabilities, for example, they have a real challenge around disclosure. And so, do they really want to disclose a disability? And that's a really tricky track, I think, for some people, because it's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear. There could be a lot of fear around, will this employer even hire me? And also depends on, where they are in the disability journey. If it's something, a disability that they've just recently obtained or, just sort of started with, they may not really be aware of what their options are.
That's the thing. I want to add that when I was applying to jobs when after university, I was so scared of how I would approach telling people about my disability and how I have, many doctor appointments, many checkups,
Mm-hmm.
many procedures to go through. And it was always a worry that if I tell them, in my job interview that, okay, that's an excuse for them not to go forward with me. But if I tell them afterwards, they would regret it or something. I don't know. Like, it was always just a worry after I would get hired. I'm like, okay, should I tell them now that I have like 2 doctor
Right.
appointments in the next 2 weeks?
How
Um,
nuanced should
and
it
how
be? Yeah.
exactly, it's
Yeah.
so hard. So, like, what, in your opinion, how can people approach that?
I think the first thing to really look at is asking yourself, will my disability impact my ability to do this particular job? And if you think that it won't, then you have the choice to not disclose.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, my thing is about honesty is the best policy, but
Yeah.
I do understand that depending on who that employer is, you can usually, I feel our gut never lies, right? So, we can gauge
Yeah.
how receptive that employer, how open that employer might be. And if you feel that maybe they may not be as receptive, then you may want to maybe balance that a little bit and just sort of take a step back and see like how you go, and then determine whether you're having challenges or barriers performing the duties of the job, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
sort of revisit that. But if you have an outright physical disability, like for myself, I have complete sight loss. So when I walk into an interview with a cane or start a job, then I'm going to have to obviously let that employer know that I use a screen reader, for example, and that
Yeah.
I might require some orientation around the office. So you have to really look at your own situation and then make that call.
Because I can
And you
tell you
mentioned,
one of my sorry, I was
go
going to
ahead.
say one of my job interviews was, I was good. I had a group job interview at one station. I'm not going to name what, but it went well. They hired me. And then a few weeks later, I come back with an eye patch on my eye
Mm-hmm.
and full on tape and padding over my eye. And they're like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, I had a cataract surgery. And it was just one of those things that I'm like, okay, now I have to explain what is going
Right.
on with me now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I was gonna say is, Anu, you mentioned like the fear, right? Fear of being rejected, or you felt you had it in the bag, maybe going into this interview, but knowing that gnawing feeling that that employer may not feel the same way after you disclose your disabilities or your accommodation needs. And we know, because you also said we seem to understand more now than ever before, because we're talking about it more and we feel more informed about the actual rights of accommodation. So that's just one side of the equation, which is like knowing your rights, knowing that you can't just be they can't just pass on you because you have disability, right? But other than particular accommodations, maybe like I'm not going to apply for a job that I need to drive for and then demand that I get it because I can't drive legally. So that kind of thing. But do you have an idea of what works the best? How people's journeys or like sample sizes of things that you've come across in your own research and work in this field very heavily, what do people seem to think works the best with disclosure, or like even authentic representation, if you will? Like coming in with my cane saying, yeah, this is my disability, this is that, and confidently walking in, walking out.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is come in with solutions, right, to potential challenges or potential questions that that employer may have, rather than being like, well, yeah, that's a good question. Like, yeah, that could be a challenge. So let me get back to you on that. So really understanding your disability, what your personal challenges are, what your barriers may be, and come up with a list of solutions to what those, how you're going to tackle those challenges, because that really shows that you are comfortable in your own skin, you're confident, and you know, like you know what your challenges are, but you have a plan in place, and that will not stop you from, performing the duties of the job. And that
Mhm.
might mean having a conversation with a professional if you're not sure, because we don't have all the answers. We just don't always know what is available to us. And especially with emerging technologies right now, we know technology, AI, everything is, oh my God, rapidly going out of control. Like it's just there's so much
Yeah.
out there. So it can be challenging to keep up, with the latest trends. So educating yourself, I think, is really, really important. Build your awareness, and if that means doing online research, if that means connecting with a professional to explore research or explore what those options are, so that you can constantly go in and speak with confidence and assurance that, hey, this is a challenge, but it's not going to impact my ability to do the job. Please give me a chance and let me show you.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that. So you produce a podcast aimed at youth with disabilities, anyone who's connected to people with disabilities. Tell us about that and how people can access it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I work with an organization called BC Center for Ability, and they have a program there specifically for youth with disabilities who are transitioning from post-secondary into employment. And this program is called the Thrive Program. And so Coast Capital Savings, which is one of our local credit unions here, have sponsored this program for the past 4 years. And so now the podcast is called the Coast Capital Thrive Podcast. And I have had the honor of producing this podcast for the past, I would say maybe, like 3 years or so. And we look at all different aspects of employment and disabilities. So we look at everything from interviewing to accommodations to disclosure and everything in between. And we had taken a bit of a pause for the past few months, and I'm really excited to say that we're rebooting or restarting, you could say, very soon, most likely in the next couple of weeks. And but we have lots of episodes that people can check out, and we're available on Spotify and all the other local suspects that where people can access their podcasts. And we bring in all types of guests who can speak to different topics related to, employment and youth. And this particular season, we're looking at financial topics related to finances. And so that's, I think, an area that a lot of youth could really benefit from, just things like budgeting, all those kinds of things.
Yeah. And podcasts, obviously, a direct way to get in touch with the community and, keep the conversations going and flowing. Are there a lot of, do you get a lot of feedback from people from the community on what they want to hear about?
Definitely, we do. And I think a lot of people, they're asking for practical skills. Like, just tell me, like, give me something, give me some tools, give me some resources. And I think life experience also is really, really sought after. And so people like us who live with disability every day, we have lived life. We have had experiences. And so we know how powerful stories are. So I think people really, really enjoy the stories because there are lots of life lessons to be learned. So I think those are often really appreciated.
And what would you say is the most recent thing you could share in your own personal journey around all this stuff? Like, is there anything that you've faced recently, a challenge or a new transition in a chapter with work that could help somebody out there listening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me right now, I'm self-employed. So I've been working in my own business, I would say full time for the past 5 years. COVID, I know, is not a great time for anyone, But for me, business-wise, it was not too bad. It was pretty good. I was very busy. And we know with the Accessible Canada Act, and now here in British Columbia with the Accessible BC Act, there's been a flow of work over the past few years as organizations were getting their accessibility plans in place, and there's lots of consulting and training and opportunities for people like myself, independent consultants. But now it feels like the last 6 months or so have sort of cooled down a bit. So as a person who depends on these contracts, you gotta hustle, right? At the end of the day, like, where's my next paycheck gonna come from? And so I would say, and I can't say this enough, the importance of establishing and maintaining relationships is so important. So being able to network is so key. And so, picking up the phone and, calling up someone, and whether it's like a colleague or anyone in your circle, and saying, hey, just let's meet for coffee, and, let them know that you're out there, you're looking for an opportunity or opportunities, and not being afraid to do that. Because I think, and if they don't respond the first time, persevere, I think that's one thing that a lot of people give up really quickly. I tried calling the person once or emailed them, I never heard back. So, oh well, that's not good enough for me anyways. Right. I'm just saying for myself, I am one of those, like, I'm not going to harass you or anything, but yes, I will definitely reach out a few times, because people, let's face it, we're all busy. And so, that's really, really important, right? So maintain those connections. It's really, really important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anu.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We were joined by Anu Paula, accessibility professional working with digital accessibility, career development, and training and consulting.
Yeah, I think networking falls under your big umbrella of skills, Nazi, because it's not just calling people up and having coffee with them. It's also Instagram and LinkedIn and all these other places too, right? Just keeping in touch with your networks this way. Like, there's very much ways to just keep in touch with people, and people will know your state of employment, if you will, or what you're up to, or who you're connected to through all these ways, through social networking.
I think it's all about showing your face somehow, whether it's, as you said, on social media, you want to show that you're very active on social media. You want to keep up and reply to people's stories, or like this person's post and comment this person, to show that you're, hey, I'm still here. Remember me when here. Yeah. Like, it's just putting your name out there somehow, some way. And I think that's very important to do so.
And it's not as taboo anymore either. Like, we can all talk about networking and know that it's, that phrase about who you know, not what you know. Like, it's still so true. It's always been true. But now we can just openly, send each other emails, or put out on LinkedIn that we are looking for work or freelance, that kind of thing, without feeling like, I don't know, does it look corporate? Does it feel shady? Like, to network this way? Not really.
Is it embarrassing?
Yeah.
Like, we all had those feelings before, but now it's just like, that's the way to get out there and put yourself out there.
Well, nice conversations on today's show. Thank you so much, Nisreen. Nisreen Abdelmajid, Ramia Amadin hanging out today, and we'll be back tomorrow as well, when we will talk about the significance of Disability Book Week. Who's running it and why is it important? Also, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, get ready for a powerful and honest conversation as Matisse Hamel-Nealis tells us about her candid personal and professional journey around being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, BPD. We'll talk to her and a bunch of other people when we join you on tomorrow's Kelly and Company.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.